A lot of schools across the Commonwealth and certainly in Central Virginia struggling with the dilemma that is to mask or to unmask. Orange County Public Schools last night in an emergency school board meeting choosing to lift the mask mandate and empower parents to choose whether their children will wear masks or not. We'll talk about that today on the program. Private schools in the area also moving in that direction, as are the schools in Augusta County. A lot we're going to cover on the I Love CVille show, including this question. Will masks become the new form of segregation in public schools in 2022? On Monday, after the governor lifted this mask mandate, will parents send their children to public schools without masks on? And how will that impact dynamics in the cafeteria, in the classroom, in the hallways, and on the buses with administrators, teachers, drivers, coaches, and students alike? Will we see pockets of students hanging out based on whether or not they have a cloth on their face? Some choosing to hang with mask wearers or non-mask wearers. Is this segregation in 2022? I will ask that question today on the I Love CVille show. We will also ask this question. There is undoubtedly, since COVID has struck the world, this country, this Commonwealth, and this region, an exodus of teachers from schools. Teachers like the nursing field, like the bus driver field, like the food and beverage field. People are choosing to do different things, different lines of work. So I'm going to ask this question today on the show. Teachers, for example, that teach in Orange County public schools, where masks are now optional, will teachers quit the Orange County school system because of this decision and choose to head to openings in school systems that are prioritizing mask wearing? Is this a hiring opportunity for school systems to use to their advantage to fill open slots? And how about the news from the University of Virginia? UVA has told students that if they test positive for COVID, they are encouraged to leave grounds and go home. Isolation spaces are few and far between. That topic on the I Love CVille show, including Virginia basketball news and Fairfax County Public Schools on ice, literally and figuratively. We'll get rocking and rolling here on the program. Judah, let's do it.
Quiet on the set.
Guys, welcome to the program. My name is Jerry Miller. Thank you kindly for joining us. We are live in Charlottesville, the Commonwealth, the country, and the world on the I Love CVille network. Judah, let's get this camera turned around here, please, like we do for shows with you and I. A lot we're going to cover on today's program, including a Monday that proves to be quite volatile, a Monday that is proving to be quite uncertain, a Monday that is proving to be quite fragile, a Monday that is proving to be quite concerning. Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin lifted the mask mandate, and on Monday, the lifted mandate will truly rear its impact in schools across the Commonwealth. And parents of children, elementary, middle, and high school, public and private, are wondering aloud what's going to happen in our hallways, in our classrooms, on our school buses, in our cafeterias, in our gym classes, and in our playgrounds. I'm going to ask the question today on the program. I'm going to get your perspective, ask for your perspective. If you could share it anywhere on social media, we will relay it on air. This Monday in schools in the Commonwealth of Virginia, will we see 2022 educational segregation? Will we see schools divided and children, elementary, middle, and high school, hanging with their peers based on whether or not a cloth is on their face? Will teachers demand and insist that unmasked students put one on, or they will be forced to leave the classroom? Will parents go to bat and go to fight and have the back of their children that choose not to wear the mask in the classroom? The level of uncertainty, concern, and the precarious position for our next generation is tangible and palpable. I'm going to look at this from every side, and I'm going to share a perspective that has already come into the network today in the program. We will also ask this question: will teachers in public schools, teachers who are obviously pro-mask in classrooms, will we see an exodus of teachers from school systems that have given the choice to parents and children? And will those teachers flood to school systems that are following Northrum's mandate as opposed to Youngkin's lifted mandate? Is this hiring opportunity a leverage tactic to drive employment for school systems to mask or to not to mask? That question on today's show. Orange County Emergency School Board meeting last night. The mask mandate lifted, the autonomy in the hands of parents and students in Orange County, Virginia. Augusta County, the mask mandate lifted, the autonomy in the hands of students and parents alike starting February 14th. Private schools in Central Virginia, one off the top of my head, we've confirmed through parents. Charlottesville Catholic School, masks in the hands of parents and students alike. This topic, a dynamic one that leads to a broader topic in question. Is this cloth the 2022 version of segregation? Will the 2022 version of Rosa Parks be a student who walks from the back of the bus to the front of the bus, from the front of the bus to the back of the bus, to take a seat without a mask on their face? We'll take a deep dive on this topic on the I Love CVille show Today, presented by Skooma Boutique Dispensary, the best dispensary in Charlottesville, located on the Charlottesville Downtown Mall. It's Skooma Boutique Dispensary with certificates of analyses for everything in the store. Now, let's get to the lead topic. And Judah, get ready. Judah Wickhauer is our fabulous director. Get ready to two-shot. I'll let you know when I want to rock on it. To say that there is a fragile dynamic in play here is an understatement of tremendous proportions. This mask has been a divisive element nationally, Commonwealth-wide, Central Virginia-wide. You can make a straightforward argument that Glenn Youngkin won in part to masks and parental autonomy when it comes to educational circumstances. In T-minus 60 hours, we will watch our children head into classrooms, walk onto tin cans we call school buses, sit at their desks, eat their Lunchables and their Dunkaroos in the cafeteria, change in their locker rooms for physical education, walk their hallways from geometry to geography, and we will watch as this dynamic unfolds. My anticipation is the volatility will be driven by passionate parents on both sides of this aisle. School boards are making decisions that supersede what Youngkin is trying to do. And school boards are making decisions that align what Youngkin is trying to do. Align with. Orange County is a good example. This statement released to me by parents in Orange County right after an emergency school board meeting. I'll read it verbatim. Last night, I'm getting bombarded by parents in Orange County, Virginia, on both sides of the aisle. School board approves mask optional in Orange County, Virginia. At its special called meeting on January 20th, 2022, the Orange County School Board approved a resolution whereby the wearing of masks shall be optional for all students, staff, and visitors in school buildings, indoors and outdoors. As per federal regulations, masks are required on school buses. So you have to wear the mask on the bus, the tin can, but you don't have to wear the mask in the classroom that's poorly ventilated with the windows closed and is clean, not to the clip that we do our homes. Parents responding with momentum. Andrea Grenadier says on Instagram, I love Seville. We can easily predict a spike in cases to the tune of about 30% in 2 weeks. Doug Turnbull says on I Love Seville Instagram, kids are the least bothered by wearing masks in my experience. My first grader has worn a mask to go in public 1/3 of his life. Heidi Graham says on I Love Seville Instagram, zero data to support benefit of masks to reduce airborne virus spread. Look at states with mandates versus no mandates. No difference in cases. Jenna Ally says on I Love Seville Instagram, "My heart breaks. My sister is an Orange County, Virginia teacher, and we just lost my father 2 weeks ago to COVID. He was vaccinated and boosted, but was immune compromised. My sister wrote to the school board to plead to keep the mask mandate, but it fell on careless ears. I would not wish this pain on anyone." Sarah Lincoln Morgan writes on I Love Seville Instagram, "I am so sorry for your loss, Jenna, of your father. As a teacher, I feel for your sister. I teach in Norfolk, Virginia, and we are keeping masks mandatory, thank heavens. The lack of common sense in many districts is beyond frustrating." Jessica Thomas Johnson on I Love Seville Instagram, "Good old Orange County, always making us proud. Sarcastic emoji face." Judah Wickower, director, two-shot. Brenda Purcell in Louisa County, unhappy grandmother with the governor of Virginia, Glenn Youngkin. Your thoughts and perspective. We'll talk private schools versus public schools in a matter of moments. We will talk the new form of segregation, mask wearing, potentially. We will talk, will superintendents utilize this to attract teachers to school systems as a hiring tactic or tool?
You mean whether or not the school is going with a mandate of masks?
Exactly. Teachers, as you can imagine, the large majority are
The large majority are Democrats? I don't know.
pro-mask.
Okay.
That's what we're talking about here. Pro-masks. They're in the classroom with the students. I can understand their perspective. I empathize with their perspective. The school systems that are not mandating masks, will they potentially lose a wave of teachers, see them quit because of this, and will they then flood to mask-mandated school systems like Albemarle County and the city of Charlottesville? Anywhere you want to go, any topic you want to cover within this realm, what's on the brain?
Well, I like a lot of what I see Youngkin doing, but I think in this case he may have faltered. I'm against mandates, but I feel like he swung too far in the other direction. Banning mandates, I think this is, again, the kind of thing that needs to be left to schools and teachers and parents to decide, rather than some sweeping, like blanket statement for everybody.
Okay, why? Two men having a conversation over a cup of coffee. You have your coffee?
Mm-hmm.
Dave Fafar, Shenandoah Joe's. Cheers, my friend. Why'd you say you thought Youngkin too fast, too quick here? His campaign was predicated on this promise.
So, I don't mind ending the mask mandate, but it's putting a ban on mask mandates across the state that's, like I said, swinging the other direction too far. It's basically creating another mandate to fix a mandate that he doesn't like, and I think that's poor form.
Vanessa Parkhill in Earlysville says this: "I hope families and educators take the change in statewide mask policies in schools as an opportunity to talk with students about personal responsibility, freedom of choice, civic engagement, and respect for others' opinions. Those who did not support the mask have been tolerant for a long time. I hope everyone is respectful and tolerant of different choices." Vanessa Parkhill.
Agreed.
Well said, VP. We love when you participate in the program. Your crystal ball of what's going to happen on Monday. And the unfortunate aspect, and you offer your perspective, it's the kids that are in the crossfire. the crossfire of passionate parents. And the parents' passion, and I'm speaking as one, comes from a good place. Is it being actualized the right way? Maybe yes, maybe no yes. But it comes from a good place. Parents, for the most part, I hope to God, 99.9% of the time, are just doing decisions based on the betterment of their kid.
I think that's probably, for the most part, true. I imagine most, if not all, parents want the best for their children, and some of them think that that's wearing masks everywhere, no matter what. Others think that it's not really necessary, and I think they need to talk to each other and figure out what works in their school system. And just because the mask mandate is over, or whether or not schools choose to follow it, that doesn't mean that people can't wear masks.
Kelly Jackson was on the show yesterday, a passionate mom of two. She says, I'm telling my kids to stay away from kids not in masks. I'm telling my kids to stay away from other kids not in masks.
So I have a question for parents. Is we haven't seen serious symptoms in children, as far as I know, from any of the COVID-19 variants. So as far as I can tell, it seems to be fairly mild in children and young adults. So is the concern family members? Is the concern older teachers? Or is it just a fear for your child's health? I don't know.
I think it's all the above, and that's well outlined by you. I think it's all the above. I think it's youngsters bringing COVID home. I think it's youngsters and their personal health and safety. I think it's the strain it puts on hospital systems and the resources being allocated to Omicron as opposed to, for example, car accidents, heart attacks, strokes.
Speaking of which, I know that we're currently in a pretty serious blood shortage with the Red Cross right now. So I'm just going to put that out there. If anybody is able and willing to give blood, a lot of people need it right now.
Will Satin, Scott Aaronworth in Virginia Beach. Like there's peer pressure to drink and smoke in schools, there will be peer pressure to not wear the mask. I'm going to ask the question. Is the 2022 version of educational segregation a cloth on a face? Will it create factions of students in cafeteria settings hanging out based not on skin color, but instead based on The Little Mermaid, Spider-Man, Batman, Captain America, the Smurfs, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, or a K95 on a cloth on someone's face?
Yeah, I think maybe that's a good thing. If kids,
How's that a good thing?
it's better than doing those things. It's better than segregating based on, like you said, skin color, or religion, or anything else. And I don't know. Kids will be kids. I'm sure there will be some of that. I'm sure there will be people that. I'm sure there will be kids that say, "Look, I'm sorry, I can't hang out with you because my parents, are worried about our family." And other kids will say, "Look, I believe that we should be wearing masks, and sorry, you're not my friend anymore."
Johnny Ornalis, welcome to the program. His wife, an educator in the school system. Will the courageous teenager that rides the school bus now be the freedom fighter that gets on the yellow tin can from Turnstile walks the aisle, sits on the back bench of the bus next to the emergency exit, and trots down the aisle maskless? Is that the 2022 version of educational Rosa Parks?
I hope not. I'm not heavily in favor of mask mandates, but I'm also not in favor of flouting, something like masks on a school bus. I think that's a fair a fair requirement, and flouting something like that seems less like a Rosa Parks action and more of a middle finger to everyone. And I think that's just I think that's just inconsiderate, and it doesn't help anyone.
Will we see a spike of COVID cases, Omicron cases, associated with maskless students and poorly ventilated hallways that are closely populated with students rubbing shoulder and walking shoulder to shoulder? We all anticipated a COVID and Omicron spike post Hanukkah, Christmas, and New Year's. We're not surprised that the numbers are running rampant now. We predicted this on the show.
So, but if Omicron is weaker and less harmful, could that possibly be a good thing? Could we be spreading immunity faster through the rise of Omicron cases, which is better, or which may be better than a rise in cases from a variant that is much more detrimental to people's health.
Judah Woodcower asking appropriate questions. Questions coming in comments. This is from Karen Fry-Wolf of Pediatric and Associates. Karen, we appreciated your perspective yesterday. This is what she has to say. Are you ready, Judah?
Yes.
We do not know how this surge will impact the incidence of MIS-C, which typically appears in children weeks after their infection. She continues. We know vaccination dramatically reduces the risk of MIS-C and our under 5 population is not eligible for that protection. We are putting our most vulnerable at risk by increasing the risk of transmission in schools and children and teachers bringing it home to their youngest family members. My youngest child's school just went mask optional, and I will be instructing her to stay away from children not in mass. What's happening?
That's a fair.
It's a fair statement.
Yeah.
I respect mom, and this is a mom that's backed by science.
And I don't know enough about MIS to really comment on that possibility.
A mom backed by science and medicine, working at Pediatric and Associates, where our family goes ourselves. We are legitimately seeing the 2022 version of healthcare segregation in our public schools. And the 2022 version of healthcare segregation is not associated with skin color, black, white, Puerto Rican, or Haitian, and instead is associated with a cloth on face. The dynamics of what's going to transpire over the next, you've got to anticipate that this is going to be going on for most of the second semester, guys, if not the entire second semester. The dynamics of what's going to transpire, it's hard to even predict. But what I can comfortably say, through fact and reasonable thinking, is friendships will be lost or strained amongst kids. Friendships will be lost and strained amongst parents to mask or not to mask. Children will undoubtedly, in school systems like Orange, where the mandate has been lifted and the autonomy has been given back to the parents, some children undoubtedly will be pulled by their mask pro parents from the school system, in-person learning, and be instructed by their parents to either learn virtually, homeschooled, or positioned in private school settings. We already know that parents in the last 2 years and change have made a shift from public to private.
I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing.
Follow up. I don't know what you mean by that.
Well, there's a reason why people want their kids to go to private schools. They generally tend to be, better at teaching children.
I don't agree with that statement.
Don't agree with that?
I do not agree with that statement. I think that is an unfair statement. I'm not going to agree with that. You're entitled to your opinion. You're entitled to your opinion. But I'm not going to agree with the statement that privates are better than publics when it comes to education.
Okay.
That's what you said.
I could be wrong. I haven't done research, but
I don't agree with that. I respect your opinion, and I certainly respect that you are saying this. I think the reason we saw the shift of many families from public to private was because of education in a more in-person classroom setting in privates than what was happening in public. What we saw in public throughout COVID was this educational purgatory where children were left in this middle ground of digital or in-person to digital, and how do we actualize digital, and should it be a hybrid, and we already know in a senior level executive, I'm trying not to throw my source, identify my source, a senior person within Charlottesville school system says the seniors that are graduating today from Charlottesville High School are more like 10th graders, 10th graders, a 10th grader that's 3/4 of the way through the year and not truly a senior in high school from a learning standpoint. And that's a damning statement, a very eye-opening statement.
yeah, certainly.
Here's the next question I'm going to ask you. Will we see private school leadership? Private school decision makers. And a private school is what?
I don't know what you're...
A private school is a business.
Yes. I wouldn't have guessed that.
What would you think I was alluding to?
I don't know.
Well, what first came to mind?
A blank that I don't know the answer to?
Okay. A private school is a business.
Yeah.
You're charging anywhere from, depending on the private school, some $8,000-10,000 a year, north of $35,000 a year in Central Virginia. And I'm going to give an example. Here's an example. Two of the most expensive private schools in our area, St. Anne's Belfield Academy, Woodbury Forest School. If you're charging north of $35,000 a year, you're as focused on curriculum and education as you are profit and loss statements and tuition increases. They go hand in hand.
Okay.
Is the private school decision maker going to ride the coattails of Youngkin and say we need to give the autonomy to the parents and the decision's been made by the governor, knowing the school is a business more so than the public school is a utility?
I think considering the school is a business, they may weigh or weight parents' opinions more heavily than public schools might, because they want to keep those parents as customers.
Exactly.
Which means
100%
they
agree
may
with
be
that.
More like if a majority of the parents of their students are saying, look, we don't care what Youngkin says, we want to keep our kids in masks, then I think it's more likely that a private school will keep masks for their students. We're a public school, I really hope that public schools will talk with the parents and come to informed decisions that is the best decision for the students. But you're right, they're not beholden to that money.
I'll take it a step further. And I'll dot the I's and cross the T's on this topic first before I take it a step further. The decision maker that is in the most difficult position is the private school decision maker. Because the private school decision maker has to weigh the pros and cons, the judicial scale of justice, of tuition money and student safety. The public school decision maker who has to choose mask mandate yes or mask mandate lift is not as beholden on the dollar.
But they do still get...
And there's my follow. State money is what you were going to say, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying not to interrupt you as much. Finish your thought, please.
If they, I don't know much about it, but...
I know a lot about it.
But if they lose students, don't they lose money? So...
Correct.
So
state funding is based on student body count.
So if they expected a loss of students from parents pulling their kids due to no mask mandate at that school, that might push them to rule the other way and bring mask mandates back. Who knows?
So
I don't know what goes on in the minds of people that run public schools, but
follow up to this topic right here. Governor Glenn Youngkin has quietly, discreetly, but still nevertheless on the record offered hints and indications that he will do everything in his power, and I'm going to read it verbatim for you, everything in his power to lift these mandates across the Commonwealth of wearing the mask. The new governor has specified that he will use his entire, and I'm going to read a quote he gave to Fox News on Sunday evening.
Do you take the word lift as being synonymous with ban?
Youngkin, his campaign, promised the removal of mask mandates. And why Youngkin beat McAuliffe. We've agreed on this, and millions in Virginia can attest, is because McAuliffe once, twice, and three times made the political error of saying parents should not have the autonomy or say or influence of their children's educational experience. That cost McAuliffe the election. Youngkin capitalized on that gaffe by saying...
I don't know if it was gaffe.
You don't think McAuliffe doing that was a political gaffe?
Well, a gaffe is like when you misspeak, when you say something you might not have meant to say.
A gaffe is a mistake.
It usually tends to be more of a spoken mistake.
All right, we're arguing schematics here.
I'm just saying.
Okay, I'll rephrase.
That
I'll
might be what
rephrase.
he really believed.
I will rephrase. Youngkin capitalized on McAuliffe's political mistake by campaigning that parents, if he's elected, will regain the autonomy, the influence, will be empowered over their children's education. And he won. And immediately he's following through on that promise. And on Sunday, he told Fox News, a global audience, and I'll read it to you verbatim what he said, quote, "We're going to use all the authority I have to consider all options to protect that right." And the right he's talking about is lifting the mask mandates, removing them, and empowering the parents and what they were going to do with their children. This from Charlottesville Tomorrow. Good article from Charlottesville Tomorrow, CVilleTomorrow.org. I'm going to read a couple paragraphs verbatim from CVille Tomorrow's article today. Following Youngkin's statements to Fox News on Sunday evening, Virginia Lieutenant Governor Winsome Sears alluded that the new governor could withhold funding from schools if they choose not to comply with the executive order in the lieutenant governor's follow-up appearance on Fox News on Monday. Governor goes on Sunday. Youngkin. Lieutenant Governor Winsome Sears,
Great name, by the way.
goes on Fox News on Monday. She says to Fox News, quote, "There's a certain combination of monies that we send from the state to the local school boards, and we can withhold some of that," end quote. I mean, that's a threat.
Does sound like a threat.
That sounds like a threat. Does it not?
Yeah. And again, it's like they started with the good intention of giving parents a voice, and they just went too far. And they decided to they're basically banning the mandates, right? And threatening to withdraw money from schools that don't agree with them. It sounds like they're going a little overboard to me.
It sounds like what?
They're going a little overboard.
You think Youngkin's administration is going overboard?
It sounds that way, doesn't it?
I mean, this is what it sounds like to me. It sounds like Youngkin campaigned on a platform of empowering Virginian parents with autonomy and influence on their children's education.
But that's not what they're doing.
That is what they're doing.
No.
How do you say?
Well, because if you have a mask mandate, then you don't have any autonomy. If you mandate that there can't be any mask mandates,
He's returning the playing field to what it was before the mandate. He's not mandating no mandate.
I think that's what he is.
He's returning the playing field to what it was.
So it's everybody's choice.
And isn't that how school was before COVID?
Before COVID, there wasn't any need for a mandate. I'm just saying that it's the way I see it going overboard is that rather, I have no problem with choice, but I think the school boards and the parents and the teachers should have a say in how their school behaves in these regards.
Even though they take money from the state? Should the governor have say over the respective school systems because money is coming from the Commonwealth to the school systems at local level?
I still think it's going a little too far.
What do you think, parents? Your comments in the feed. Let's get to some comments. Karen Fry Wolf, Pediatric and Associates. Unfortunately, my child's now mask optional school is a local. Let me read this straightforwardly. Unfortunately, my child's now mask optional school is a local private school, which is why they can choose not to follow the Blue Ridge Health District's guidelines. May I ask straightforwardly, Karen, if that is Charlottesville Catholic School? Will you openly respond to that question with an answer in the feed? Virginia Beach Esquire Aaronworth. It is Charlottesville Catholic School. Karen Fry Wolf, you're making the show better. Your straightforwardness is appreciated. We have medical professional, a mother, Charlottesville Catholic School, she's identified, mask optional. And she says Unfortunately, my child's now mask optional school is a local private school, which is why they can choose not to follow the Blue Ridge Health District guidelines. I am going to make this prediction on this program today. You will see the decision makers at the private schools ride the coattails of Youngkin's decision making and say, it's not us, the governor's telling us to do it, we're going to comply. Passing the responsibility buck, the decision-making buck, to the top elected official in the Commonwealth to shield themselves from parental heat.
I don't know if that's much of a shield.
It's a better shield than not having one. Not a position I would want to be in.
No.
Not a position I would want to be in.
Sounds a little bit like using a plastic garbage can lid as a shield. I don't think it's going to do much.
When our son is trying to attack us with Nerf pellets from his Nerf gun, thank God I have the Captain America plastic shield to protect myself.
If that's all you had to worry about, then you're fine. But angry parents are a little bit worse than
Nerf pellets.
Yeah.
Amen, brother. Damn straight. Have you seen Mama Bear, my wife, stand up for Baby Bear, our son? You don't want to be in the crossfires of that heat. I'll put it that way. I've been there. Karen says, my other child is at the Covenant School, and I am waiting to hear from Covenant School administration. Mike Pearl watching the program. Mike Pearl says this. Banning the mandate does not mean banning masks. People can still wear masks. Students and teachers can wear 4 masks and a face shield if they want. Youngkin is saying that if school administrators stand outside the school and deny entry to anyone not wearing a mask, then he will pull funding. This is something That's
a good clarification.
Mike Pearl, I just gave you some props. Mike Pearl, I'm going to respond to your comment right now on the program and say I read this on air and I'm giving you props. Look, this is where I stand. This is literally where I stand, okay? I align with what party? I say this all the time.
Party of common sense.
I align with the party of common sense. Not the Democratic Party, not the Republican Party, the party of common sense. And the party of common sense is parents should have say on what their kids do and not be told by a suit 60 miles away from them.
Agreed.
I do not believe a suit 60 miles down Interstate 64 should tell my wife and I what we should do with our nearly 4-year-old son, who we see every damn day, understand his mood, his temperaments, what he's like in the morning, what he's like before nap, what he's like when he's tired, what he's like when he's hungry, what he's like when he's happy, and what he's like when he's a rascal.
So you're for complete freedom of choice in regards to masks in schools?
Yes. And still, we would send our kid to school with a mask on.
Fair enough.
My wife and I would send our kid to school with a mask on. But it is our choice to send our kid to school with a mask on, not some Men's Warehouse wearing 3-piece suit 60 miles down Interstate 64.
Agreed.
Here's an interesting question. I want to ask everyone that's watching. Karen says, Mike and Karen are communicating here on the feed. I'm going to get to these comments here. I'm going to ask you guys this question. Clearly, one of the issues we have, and everyone's got to be in agreement here, one of the issues that is going on is the polarization of the Virginian population based on a mandate. When someone tells you, damn it, you're going to do this, What's a natural response?
I think a natural response for most people is to say, hell no, we won't go.
When someone says, damn it, you have no choice, you're going to do this, a natural human response, especially as Americans, where this country has been founded on a dream that you could create through hard work, through your own autonomy, through your own grit and hustle, and figuring some shit out on your own. A natural response to someone in a suit 60 miles down 64 from you is to say, screw you. What would happen if the mandates are lifted and the populace is left to decision making on their own? Would that divisiveness be eradicated and lead to momentum behind science and healthcare protection? If we're not mandated to wear masks, will the parents still be protective of the kids and encourage them to wear masks? And the parents who are choosing not to have their children in masks, are they doing it because they're being demanded to do so? You see my point?
Say that last part again. Parents that aren't sending their kids to school in masks, are they doing that because they're mandated to not wear masks?
The parents, many parents, that are angry about this
Mask
topic,
mandate.
it's because they're being mandated.
Because they're being told to do something.
Yeah.
I agree.
The essence of parenthood, and I'm speaking as a parent, the essence of parenthood,
Is being able to raise your child as you see fit.
even more simple than that. The essence of parenthood is protecting our babies. The entire reason we're moms and dads is to protect our kids. And that entire fundamental essence of parenthood, protecting our kids, will creep into action. But it's the mandate, the being instructed,
That rankles.
so
you think
and supersedes that essence of parenthood.
that intuition, that impulse? So you're saying that you think some parents may be sending their kids to school without masks simply to flout the system, to flout the order, and with the rescinding of the mandates, they will be more likely to embrace their children wearing masks simply because they're no longer being forced to.
Exactly.
I'm-
Exactly.
Man, at this point, I don't know. I mean, I think at this point...
Could it get any worse?
No, I think at this point, some people may be so ingrained in their actions, their beliefs, that I don't know if this will have that effect. It would be good, and, I think it would be great if people chose to change their minds. And, in fact, Neil just gave me a book about changing your mind, and not just changing your mind,
Neil Williamson.
but...
Show the book. Do you got the book?
Yeah, it's over there.
Free Enterprise Forum president on Real Talk earlier today. Live programming at its finest, right here.
Anybody interested in the book? It is Think Again by Adam Grant. And it's more than just about changing your mind. From what Neil said, from what I remember about what he said the book talks about not just changing your mind, but actively taking a look at your beliefs and the things that you argue to your friends and family, the things that you believe in, and taking a look at those beliefs and whether or not they still hold water or need to be changed.
Brian Yeagle, St. Anne's Belfield graduate, on Twitter. Youngkin is making masks optional. If you want to wear it, do it. Yes, agreed, Bri. Agreed, BY. Love that you're participating in the show, BY. parents want their kids safe. That's why we have car seats. That's why we have baby monitors. That's why we have babysitters. That's why we have routine checkups at peds. We want our kids safe. But what's convoluting that sense of parental safety and that spirit of parental safety
Is a sense of rebellion.
is a sense of rebellion.
Fair enough.
Kelly Jackson says, what is the Catholic school's reasoning for removing the mask mandate? Mike Pearl in the feed, our viewers and listeners are brilliant. Mike Pearl responds to KJ's comment by saying, the Catholic schools have to follow the diocese regulations. Charlottesville Catholic School falls under the Richmond Diocese, and all Catholic schools in the diocese are making Mass optional. Karen responds to Mike, who's responding to Kelly. And Karen says, Mike, you are correct. We are under the leadership of the diocese in Richmond. I'm intrigued by this, by the social construct of this, the anthropological dynamics
Of taking orders from a diocese?
of all of it, of all the dynamics. Will we see teachers quit their jobs in schools that offer mask autonomy? And will we see those teachers quit their jobs and flood to school systems that do not offer mask autonomy?
Keep the mandate in place.
Will we see parents flood schools with mask autonomy or remove students from schools that don't offer mask autonomy? Will we see superintendents and school leadership leverage this as a description in hiring blurbs to attract teachers to new openings? Will we see Catholic school enrollment drop and head to Protestant school
I think we may,
like Covenant?
I think we may see movement in both directions. I think there may be people that move away from the mandates. I think there may be people that move towards the mandates, depending on their personal politics. And
that's my point.
I wonder how much that will fall along party lines, and how much will just be a matter of actual safety or care about that.
And that's my point. And that's my point. Jennifer Gibson on Twitter. Jerry, I love your show. You have the energy and the knowledge and the passion, and you bring it each day, and this topic is something we are all talking about. And your co-host edition has been welcome.
Thank you.
Can you blow a kiss to your adoring fans?
Why do you always want me to blow kisses?
You need a signature salute. What is your signature salute?
I don't know.
Can we get you a branding mechanism that is part of your signature salute?
A branding mechanism. I need like
The proverbial tip of the cap. Can you give me a proverbial tip of the cap, a Judah Wickower signature salute?
we'll come up with something. Maybe I'd do something with my glasses.
I don't want to come up with your signature salute.
Maybe I'd do something with my glasses, like, this is Judah Wickower on the news.
Judah Wickower on the news.
I don't know.
Why are you blushing over there? Why are you getting red, dog?
Because I'm still thinking about me blowing kisses to a studio camera.
Oh, God. I got a text message. I'm responding. If I can read this aloud on the show, sir. I just responded and asked if I could read this on the show. I don't want to blow your cover. May I read this aloud on the show? I just responded to you. If you could text me back and let me know if I can read this aloud on the show, I would appreciate that. You know I have tremendous respect for your perspective. Just let me know if I can read your comment aloud on the show. I don't want to blow the cover here. It's completely your call, and you know I'm a man of tremendous integrity here. May I read it aloud on the show if you could text me back? Nicholas Irby, hello. We have a hell of a lot of teachers watching the program right now. A hell of a lot of teachers watching the show right now. We'll see what happens on Monday. I think Monday is going to be a bananas,
No doubt.
precarious, vulnerable,
I think
uncertain.
I think a lot of school principals are going to be getting a lot of phone calls,
Dude,
no matter what they decide. I think that's the sad thing, is that there really is no right answer. A lot of people are going to be angry in either, no matter what the school districts decide. But that's often the case.
the private school decision maker has a much more difficult task than the public school one.
Just because of the money portion of it.
Yeah. The public school decision maker has to worry a lot less about the funding piece about keeping the school open.
I still think there may be movement in both directions. I think a lot of people. I mean, you prefer the parent's personal choice. Other people prefer the total mandate. I think there are going to be people on both sides.
I have a hard time as Americans, as Virginians, as Central Virginians, as Charlottesvillians, I have the hard time
Sitting silent under an order.
I mean, dude.
I agree.
I mean, the whole concept of like, okay, thank you. I just got clearance. Thank you. I will do so now. Jim Hingley. Text message. Commonwealth's Attorney of Albemarle. Jim, you know I have tremendous respect for you, Jim. And we got to get you back on the show. I am a huge fan of Jim Hingley. He sent me a text message here moments ago. He disagrees with me. He says this is the Commonwealth's Attorney of Albemarle. Jim Hingley, you are missing the point. Glenn Youngkin is mandating that your child who is wearing a mask must be exposed to COVID when other children do not wear masks. You are being forced to have increased risk of disease for your child if you go to public school. I'll read Mr. Hingley's comment again.
I believe that was Kelly's point yesterday.
That was one of Kelly Jackson's points yesterday. This is from Jim Hingley. I'll read it again. It's a good point. And he knows I have tremendous respect for him. You are missing the point. Glenn Youngkin is mandating that your child who is wearing a mask must be exposed to COVID when other children do not wear masks. You are being forced to have increased risk of disease for your child if you go to public school. Thoughts on that, J.W. Wickhauer?
I think it's partially true. There may be people that bring their kids home after school and the kids never go out anywhere with them. Maybe they're still in panic mode like a lot of people were last year, where, as you guys were saying yesterday, people are, washing their groceries when they bring them in from the store. But I think a lot of people are going out enough that school is not the only place that the kids would come into contact with or have the possibility of coming in contact with COVID-19. So I don't know if I 100% agree with that statement. He's got a good point, But I think, if your kids are coming to the grocery store with you, if they're going to whatever practices they go to, if they're, there are things that they're going to be doing. And, I mean, what can you really do? What can any of us do? You can, if you're afraid, you can wear a mask. And you're going to run into people that don't wear their masks, and you're going to run into people that do wear their masks. And so ultimately, you just do your best to keep yourself and your family safe.
Jim Hingley, you got a response to that comment from Scott Aaronworth, the attorney in Virginia Beach. Esquire Aaronworth says this: Mr. Hingley, if a child gets sick in the Albemarle County jurisdiction, do you plan on charging the governor with a crime? Esquire Scott Aaronworth, attorney in Virginia Beach, says, Albemarle Commonwealth's attorney, Jim Hingley, if a child gets sick in his jurisdiction, Albemarle, do you plan on charging Governor Glenn Youngkin with a crime? I'm going to throw this, and that's on my personal Facebook page, Mr. Hingley, if you'd like to see Mr. Aaronworth's comments. Facebook.com/Jerry Miller Now. Scott Aaronworth says, I'm a criminal defense attorney, by the way. So if you'd like to see those comments, it's on Facebook.com/Jerry Miller Now, Mr. Hingley, Mr. Aaronworth's comments in response to yours. Mr. Hingley is responding to Mr. Aaronworth as we speak right now through text message to your my phone. I will read Mr. Hingley's comments here in a matter of moments.
I'm waiting with bated breath.
You see that the, right there? Put your signature salute on. Get your glasses on so you can see it. You see the bubbles.
There are bubbles, folks.
There are bubbles. The bubbles are coming in. Mr. Hingley, I love that you're an iPhone user so I can see the bubbles when you're texting, sir. Look, this is my thoughts again. This is such a dynamic topic. There's so many layers to this onion.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many layers to the onion, and there's no definitive right answer.
No, I mean, it's the same with, we're dealing with this question all across the country, whether it's, wearing masks on an airplane or a bus, or, whether you should be wearing it in a grocery store. Or, one of the silliest things that, I won't make fun of people wearing masks unless they're wearing a mask while driving alone in their own car. They're open season on them.
But if they're in the car by themselves driving, that's when you're going to...
Yeah.
Because you're saying they're breathing their own air.
What, is the car going to get them sick? Yeah, I find that a little... I find that very goofy.
Mr. Aaronworth, Mr. Hingley's response is the following, Mr. Aaronworth. Mr. Hingley responds to Esquire Aaronworth by saying that is not a fair question. We are discussing public policy and not criminal law. Two smart guys right here watching the program. One in Virginia Beach, and I believe Mr. Hingley is across the street. Are you across the street, sir? I believe you're across the street. I may be wrong on that. I think that is where your office is located. This is how I'm going to respond. I respond as a parent. All I know how to do here is to respond as a parent of our kid. And my wife is way more cautious about this than I do. But marriage is a compromise. And I've learned in the nearly 5 years of being married, which is a rookie in the grand scheme of marriages, many 30, 40, 50 years. I've learned in the grand scheme of this that you pick your battles. And marriage is a compromise. And you can't go toe-to-toe on every single topic. And sometimes the best decisions are left on, okay, honey, let's go with your call and with what you want. And that's how you earn some equity in the bank for when you're willing to, 410 East High Street, he says. So that's further down the road here. We're at Market Street. He's 410 East High Street. Thank you, Mr. Hingley. You're making the show better today, sir. I've learned that you pick your battles. And my wife is extremely passionate about this and cautious. So we eat out less. We're not going to dinners together, certainly not with our son, not eating inside, and you haven't realized the I Love Seville platform has become less food-centric because we're spending less time in restaurants. And it's become more trend, topical-centric, and frankly, the marketplace has responded positively with it and is engaging at an even higher clip. I'm hearing now from so many people that I'm getting, frankly, the news from you and not TV and print, because we have the ability of long-form content being on. I mean, geez, we're over an hour and 45 minutes, hour and 15 minutes right now, where the news is 22 minutes of content in a 30-minute slot. We can take a much deeper dive on things.
And we can discuss it rather than just reading talking points.
Right. We don't just regurgitate press releases.
Right.
This is my point. The data shows, especially with young children, that Omicron is synonymous with a cold or, at worst, some flu-like symptoms.
Although, as some people have pointed out, there's some growing evidence. I don't know how serious or how prevalent, but there is some evidence that Omicron, I don't know if it's just Omicron or if it's COVID-19 in general, can be leading children can be a cause of MIS in kids. So that's something to think about.
It's something to think about. You know how much we love our kid. You see him in here often, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you think he's a great kid?
I'm not saying anything about you personally or anything else. I'm just saying...
You're just making a point.
I agree that as far as I know, none of the variants have seriously affected children. But if they're starting to find that it may be down the road causing MIS, then that's something we need to watch out for. Because
well said.
We do want to protect our children.
Well said. Very good take. Bringing great perspective today, sir. Thank you. The collateral damage of children not being around children, and the collateral damage of children not seeing facial expressions, people talking with their mouths,
missing out on learning social cues they would normally be learning at these ages,
is significant. And we don't even know the true damage of that because we don't have the time spent studying that long term. As someone like my kid's age who's almost 4, COVID struck in March 2020, so we're roughly 2 years of this. So half my kid's life has been in COVID with mask on. Well, let's cut to the chase. The first 3, 4, 5 months of a kid's life, he's in a bassinet, in a crib. He's got a bonnet on. He's essentially got social blinders on. So you can pretty much remove that. So you take a kid who's almost 4 and you take off half the year because he's got social blinders on associated with the bassinet, not being able to walk, sleeping 18 hours a day or whatever it is, and you got a kid that is, let's just call it for the sake of easy math, call it 4 years old. You got to take 6 months away because of what I just identified, so now that's 3.5 years of socialization. 2 of those 3.5 years have spent in this COVID ecosystem. 2 of those 3.5 years have been spent in a mask ecosystem. That, we don't even know the damage of what that does from a socialization standpoint, from a facial recognition standpoint, from an EQ standpoint, from a interacting with your peers standpoint. We don't even know what the damage of that is.
Yeah. We'll be creating a generation of sociopaths.
Compound that with screen time,
Oh, yeah.
YouTube, video games, and Netflix? And are we creating a generation of sociopaths and or at best singular-minded robots?
Yeah.
I mean, is that what's happening? Are we going to reflect 20 years from now and say, God, my wife was, you know what the main piece of feedback my wife, who watches every show, said about the shows of late? She said the shows have been damn good. Exact words. She said, I love the Judah inclusion, and stop interrupting him, damn it. Literally. She said, what you both need is a generational chart that allows you to identify the generations by name. Because every day it seems it comes up on the show, we're having to scramble for the names of the generations. And I'm doing it again right now. She's right all the time. I hate to say this, but you're right all the damn time, sweetheart. What is the generation that my kid is?
Your kid is Generation Alpha, right?
Are you sure? God, we need the generational chart. Can one of our viewers...
I've got it, like, in my mind, right?
What?
Most
I'm
recent-
Googling it right now.
The most recent is Generation Alpha.
It is?
Yeah,
You're certain?
yeah.
I'm Googling, all right. Generation Alpha, okay. Is the demographic cohort succeeding Generation Z. Researchers and popular media use the early 2010s as the starting birth years and the mid-2020s as the ending birth years. So the 2010s, early 2010s, we'll just call it 2010 to 2025 is Generation Alpha. So he's Generation Alpha.
Yeah.
Will we say decades down the road that Generation Alpha, especially the youngsters, the really young version of Generation Alpha, will we say that COVID and screen time created a generation of sociopathic robots?
I don't know if I see them becoming robots, but I think with the prevalence of iPhones and iPads and iWatches and iEverythings, and as well as people. No, I don't think cutting the cable cord is necessarily a bad thing, but the abundance of streaming platforms, so much to watch anytime. You don't have to wait until 8 o'clock and then yell for Johnny to come running because
Friends is on Thursday night on NBC.
Yeah, it's like you can watch your shows whenever you want. If you want to watch the entire season, you can binge the entire season, especially if it just came out.
I do it all the time. I lost 2 weeks of my life binging Yellowstone.
So I think some of this was already in the making. Maybe Generation Alpha was already primed to become a generation of sociopaths. I don't know, and I'm not seriously suggesting that that's what's going to happen. But COVID-19 may have sped that along a little bit. Kids were already, heads down on their computer screen, on their phone screens, and I think learning to socialize in a digital world. And I don't know if that's a good thing. I think it's made us less empathetic towards other people.
Absolutely.
And it's made us quicker to
Less patient.
quicker to condemn.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
And name call.
100%.
I think it's made it much easier to other people.
Tell them your other definition.
So othering, let me see if I can find it. It's basically that where you put groups that you don't belong to, whether they be racial groups or political groups. You put them in a negative, not just a negative light, but you
categorize them.
You make them less human. No, you dehumanize them. So you don't say you don't make it like, oh, we disagree with what these people are saying. It's just like, they're idiots. They have no idea what they're talking about. And you just turn them into this kind of like faceless mass of people that are not you or your friends or your associates. And you make it easy to disregard them. Let me see if I can find this.
Oh, you find that, I'll get to comments. Katie Pearl in the comment section. Jerry, will your wife feel comfortable to return to normal once your son has been vaccinated? 110% yes. She then asks the medical professional Karen Fry Wolf. Karen, what is your role in medicine? I've identified you as a medical professional. Can you offer some perspective? What do you do in medicine? She responds to Katie Pearl, who has the question, any insight when vaccines might be available for children under 5? CNBC has an article, and this was in the news this morning, kids in the age group that are 5 and under. So when you're 5, you can get vaccinated. So anyone under 5, kids in that age group are not currently eligible for vaccination, although the Food and Drug Administration could authorize Pfizer's shot for them in the next 30 days. That's great news. CNBC article today. I put that in the comment section on my page. Karen responds by saying, she's a pediatrician. Karen, thank you. Karen, you have made the program better. Karen, you should come on the show. Anytime you want to come on the show, Karen, please come on the program. Please come on the program anytime you want. We can have some coffee, we can have some waters, we can sit 8 feet apart, we can have a Bailey's in the coffee, whatever you want to do, Karen, okay, whatever you want to do here. Karen says this, Pediatric Associates. The dose used in the initial studies did not produce an adequate immune response in the patients, so they are now looking at different doses. I agree, I'm less worried about my fully vaccinated children getting severely ill from COVID and more concerned that I could transmit it to the newborns and other infants I see. Kelly KJ says, since the start of the pandemic, more than 6,000 children have developed MIS-C, a rare but serious condition associated with COVID infection, according to the CDC. I got 3 news outlets watching the program as we speak. 3 Charlottesville news outlets on the feed watching what we're talking about literally right now. You have what's happened in news and media because the advertising dollars have left traditional media, and traditional media is characterized as print, radio, television. Because those dollars have left traditional media, the corporations that own traditional media are having to cut costs. And because they're cutting costs, they're hiring 22-year-old fresh out of college reporters to cover the beats, and they don't have the experience or the institutional memory to cover the beats they're responsible for. So they're watching this program to get news for their cast, for their outlets. I understand the responsibility we have here. I truly do. Oh, I have a 2:30 meeting. We didn't get to a lot of topics on this show. Did you find the definition of othering? Because I got to close in 90 seconds to get to a new business meeting at 2:30.
Well, here's a couple quick ones. Othering is a broadly inclusive conceptual framework that captures expressions of prejudice and behaviors such as atavism and tribalism, but it is also a term that points towards deeper processes at work, only some of which are captured by those terms. And here's another quick one where they say that, othering is not about liking or disliking someone. It is based on the conscious or unconscious assumption that a certain identified group poses a threat to the favored group. It is largely driven by politicians and the media as opposed to personal contact. And I think that those last 2 words, personal contact, are very important.
Very important.
Because what they're saying is that you're not making decisions about this other group of people because you're interacting with them. And I think that's what makes it possible to put people in those types of other groups.
And that's what we should be
Because
very
you're not
concerned about with
talking to them.
Generation Alpha.
Yeah. Yeah.
Our kids.
They need to get out. They need to talk to people. They need to, and I, you know what? I think they're actually doing pretty well in this regard, from what I've seen. Kids in general are pretty good at not othering. You know, you don't see children that you see acting in ways that show discrimination. Those are learned traits. They're learning that stuff from their parents or from other people. Children are not normally, they may discriminate for some whatever goofy reason. Johnny punched me or spat on my sandwich the other day.
So I don't like Johnny.
Yeah.
But that's different than,
Yeah.
I don't like that
him.
person because of what he looks like.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's close with some final thoughts. You may just have closed with your final thought, which I thought was excellent right there. So you may need to close with your signature move. Vanessa Parkhill has this via DM. VP in Earlysville, we love when you watch the program. Hi, Jerry. I love Judah's comments and perspectives on the show. It has, however, presented a bit of a challenge as a listener that maybe can be addressed on the technical side with your mics. You can see when I adjust the volume to listen to you and most guests like Kelly Jackson, for example, it's often hard to hear Judah. Maybe he's more soft-spoken or maybe it's his mic. Just thought I'd let you guys know. I've heard that from other people.
I'm definitely more soft-spoken
Yeah,
than
so
Jerry
we got to turn up
and
the
Kelly.
volume of your mic.
You want me to turn it up?
We need to get the audio levels. We've heard that from other people. That's why we got the mic and the mic arm for you.
I have a hard time watching the audio levels when I'm...
Other people have said this.
All right, I'll turn myself up.
Kelly and I were boombastic yesterday, and Kelly, I think this is safe to say, you and I are both loud and passionate people. Judah's a bit introverted and soft-spoken. She's basically saying, when Kelly and Jerry are talking, I have to turn it down a little bit, and when I turn it down, I can't hear Judah.
I often turn Jerry and Kelly down as well.
Thank you, Vanessa Parkhill, for that. We are loud. Yes, we are loud, KJ. So we have to figure that out. Can you please make that a priority to figure out director?
I will turn you down.
Can you if you get the microphone closer to you? I've emphasized this many times.
It's
Get
perfect.
it closer to
It's
you.
Perfect. I'm not eating the microphone.
You just, what are you opposed? It's not going to kiss you back over there. They need to hear you. It's a talk show.
I'll adjust the sound.
It's a talk
Me
show.
putting the microphone an inch from
It's an epic talk show.
from my kisser is not going to
All right, get ready for your signature move. I'm going to close with this. We need a signature move from you.
I say we poll the audience.
What should Judah's signature move be? All right, I'm going to close with this. All right. I'm worried about Monday. And I'm worried about Monday less from the kids' perspective and what the kids are going to do and more from what the parents are going to do. Because I know what it's like to be a protective mama bear or daddy bear.
Yeah, kids are resilient.
Kids are resilient. I know what it's like to be a protective mama bear and a protective daddy bear. I'm married to a protective mama bear, and I'm a protective daddy bear myself. I ask and I encourage empathy and kindness and open-mindedness on Monday and a sense of tolerance and patience that perhaps have not been exuded of late. The last thing we need is for our Generation Alpha to learn hot-headedness, closed-mindedness, and decision-making based in a political or healthcare silo. Please. Monday's going to be stressful enough. Let's not compound matters by some of this action and behavior we've seen at school board meetings amongst parents in the audience. I'll close with that. Your signature move, please, sir.
First, I want to close with a quick message, and that is to, as we go into the weekend and Monday looms, talk to people. Talk to people that you disagree with.
Listen to the I Love Seville show.
Talk to people that you
Watch
disagree
the I Love
with.
Seville show.
Talk to people that you have problems with, and try to see things from their perspective.
Are you going to give us the signature?
That's it. Yeah. Okay.
This is the signature move. Hold on. This is the signature move. Everybody look, the signature move, go.
I'm not really sure what this is Judah Wittkauer with the news, signing out. I don't know.
I like it. For Judah Wittkauer, I'm Cherry Miller, and this is the I Love Seville show, where we're just having real talk, man. We just try to show the best of Charlottesville. Thank you for joining us. You guys have a good weekend. Take care.